My name is River, and I never expected to fall in love with a client. The doorman at the Meridian Tower knew me by sight. Expensive suit, confident smile, the kind of guy who belonged in buildings where apartments cost more than most people's houses. What he didn't know was that I was here for work. The kind of work that paid my rent and kept me in those expensive suits. Apartment 4207. I knocked, straightening my tie one last time. The man who answered wasn't what I expected. Most of my clients were older, polished in a way that felt calculated. This guy was maybe 30, with messy auburn hair and the most incredible green eyes I'd ever seen. He was wearing jeans and a paint-stained sweater, looking more like an artist than someone who could afford my services. "You must be River," he said, stepping aside. "I'm Phoenix." Phoenix. The name suited him. There was something about his presence that felt warm, alive. His apartment was gorgeous but lived in. Canvases leaning against walls, books everywhere, a half-finished sculpture on the dining table. It felt real in a way most of my clients' places didn't. "Can I get you something to drink?" he asked, running a hand through his hair nervously. "Whatever you're having." He poured 2 glasses of wine, and I noticed his hands shaking slightly. I should probably tell you up front, I've never done this before. Most clients said that. It was rarely true. But something in Phoenix's voice made me believe him. "What made you decide to try it now?" I asked, settling onto his couch. Phoenix sat across from me, not beside me, leaving careful space between us. Honestly? Loneliness. And my sister threatening to set me up with every single person she knows if I don't start dating again. Dating again? Ended a 3-year relationship 6 months ago. Haven't been able to bring myself to put myself out there since. He took a sip of wine. This seemed safer. Less complicated. I studied his face, looking for the usual signs: desperation, entitlement, the assumption that paying meant owning. Instead, I saw vulnerability and something that looked like hope. "What do you do?" I asked, genuinely curious. "I'm a sculptor. Metal work, mostly. Not exactly practical, but it pays the bills." He gestured around the apartment. "Trust fund doesn't hurt, but I try not to rely on it." "Can I see your work?" The question seemed to surprise him. "You really want to?" "Yeah, I do." Phoenix lit up, leading me around his apartment and showing me pieces he'd created. Abstract forms that somehow captured emotion, movement frozen in bronze and steel. He talked about his process, his inspiration, and I found myself genuinely fascinated. "This is incredible," I said, running my fingers over a piece that looked like 2 figures reaching for each other. "You're really talented." "Thanks." His smile was shy, genuine. Most people don't get it. Their loss. We talked for 2 hours. About art, about the city, about everything except why I was there or what he'd paid for. When I finally stood to leave, Phoenix handed me an envelope. "Will you?" He hesitated. "Would you want to come back? Same time next week?" I should have said no. Should have recognized the dangerous territory of a client who made me forget I was working. "I'd like that," I heard myself say. Walking through Beacon Hill toward the T, I couldn't stop thinking about Phoenix's smile, the way he'd listened when I talked about my love of photography, how he'd looked at me like I was interesting rather than just available. For the first time in 2 years of doing this work, I was looking forward to seeing a client again. The second time I went to Phoenix's apartment, he'd cooked dinner. "I hope you like Italian," he said, letting me in. The place smelled incredible: garlic, herbs, something that made my mouth water. "You didn't have to do all this," I said, though I was touched by the effort. "I wanted to." He looked nervous again, adorable in his uncertainty. "I kept thinking about our conversation last week. You mentioned you hardly ever get home-cooked meals." He'd remembered. In my line of work, clients rarely remembered anything personal I shared, if I shared anything personal at all. Dinner was perfect. Phoenix had made osso buco, and we ate by candlelight at his kitchen table, talking and laughing like old friends. Or like something more than friends. "Tell me about photography," he said as we finished dessert. "You said it was your first love." "Still is, I guess. I studied it in college, dreamed of being a photojournalist. Travel the world, capture important moments. I shrugged. Life had other plans. What kind of life? I hesitated. Clients didn't usually want to hear about my real life, my struggles, the choices that had led me here. Student loans, I said finally. Family stuff. Sometimes you do what you have to do to survive. Phoenix nodded like he understood. Can I see some of your work? You really want to? River, I want to know everything about you. The way he said it, soft and sincere, made my chest tight. I pulled out my phone, showed him some photos I'd taken around the city. Street photography, candid moments, the kind of images that captured real life. These are beautiful, Phoenix said, scrolling through them. You have an incredible eye. Thanks. I'm serious. This one. He stopped on a photo I'd taken of an elderly couple holding hands on a park bench. It tells a whole story. Their whole relationship is right there in how they're sitting together. He got it. He really got it. I have a darkroom, he said suddenly. Well, sort of. I converted a closet. You could use it if you want. For film photography. Phoenix. What? Why are you being so nice to me? He looked genuinely confused. Why wouldn't I be nice to you? You know what I do. What this is. Phoenix set down my phone and looked directly at me. What I know is that you're intelligent, talented, and interesting. What you do for work doesn't change that. No one had ever said anything like that to me before. Not family, not friends, not anyone. Come here, Phoenix said softly. I moved closer, and he reached up to touch my face, his fingers gentle against my cheek. Is this okay? He asked. I nodded, not trusting my voice. When he kissed me, it was soft, tentative, nothing like the demanding kisses I was used to from clients. This felt like a question rather than a demand, like something precious rather than purchased. I kissed him back, letting myself feel it, really feel it, for the first time in years. When we broke apart, Phoenix rested his forehead against mine. Stay tonight, he whispered. Phoenix. Not for sex. Just stay. I'll take the couch. I should have said no. Should have maintained professional boundaries and kept this simple. Okay, I whispered back. We fell asleep on his couch, tangled together under a soft blanket, Phoenix's arms around me like I was something worth protecting. I lay awake for a long time, listening to his breathing, trying to remember the last time I'd felt this safe. When I woke up in the morning, Phoenix was in the kitchen making coffee, humming under his breath. He looked rumpled and beautiful, and when he saw me watching him, his smile was brighter than the morning sun streaming through his windows. Good morning, he said, handing me a mug. Good morning. Any regrets? He asked quietly. I looked around his apartment, at the art on the walls, the books scattered everywhere, the man who'd shown me more kindness in 2 evenings than most people had in years. None, I said and meant it. By the 4th week, I wasn't pretending anymore. Phoenix and I had settled into a routine that felt dangerously close to dating. Dinner, conversation, long walks through the city, and yes, increasingly intimate moments that had nothing to do with money and everything to do with the connection growing between us. I have something to show you, Phoenix said after we'd finished eating Chinese takeout on his living room floor. He'd been working on a new sculpture all week, covering it whenever I came over. He led me to his studio corner and pulled away the cloth. The piece was breathtaking, 2 figures intertwined, reaching for each other, their forms flowing together like they were dancing or flying or both. Phoenix, I breathed. It's incredible. It's us, he said quietly. I looked closer and saw it. The way one figure's face was turned up toward the other, the protective curve of arms, the sense of 2 people finding each other in darkness. You've been working on this since we met? Since the second time you came over. I couldn't stop thinking about how you looked when you were talking about photography. Like you were lit up from inside. He stepped closer to me. I wanted to capture that. You did. My voice came out rough with emotion. River. Phoenix's hands found my face, thumbs brushing over my cheekbones. I need to tell you something. What? I'm falling in love with you. The words hit me like a physical force. I'd been expecting them, dreading them, hoping for them all at once. Phoenix. I know this is complicated. I know there are 100 reasons why this is a bad idea. But I can't pretend anymore that this is just business for me. It's not just business for me either, I admitted. His smile was radiant. Really? Really? But Phoenix, my life, it's messy. Complicated. I come with baggage. I don't care about baggage. I care about you. He kissed me then, deeper than before, and I felt something crack open in my chest. But maybe, or just the realization that I'd been holding my breath for months and could finally exhale. Stay with me, Phoenix whispered against my mouth. Not just tonight. Really stay. What are you asking? I'm asking you to give this a real chance. Move in with me. Let me take care of you while you figure out what comes next. I can't let you support me. It's not about support. It's about partnership. You help me see the world differently, River. You make me want to create things I never imagined. That's worth everything to me. I looked around the apartment that had started to feel like home, at the man who'd seen all my secrets and chosen to love me anyway. What about your family? Your friends? What will you tell them about me? That you're the person I love. That's all anyone needs to know. His certainty was overwhelming and beautiful. But I'd learned not to trust beautiful things too easily. I need time to think, I said. Of course. Phoenix's smile was understanding, patient. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. That night, we fell asleep in Phoenix's bed, properly this time, my head on his chest and his fingers in my hair. I lay awake listening to his heartbeat, steady and reassuring, and tried to imagine a life where I didn't have to pretend, didn't have to sell pieces of myself, didn't have to be anyone but exactly who I was. For the first time in years, that life felt possible. I gave my notice the next day. Not to Phoenix, to the agency that had been sending me clients for 2 years. It was a short conversation with a woman who'd never cared about anything but her commission. You sure about this, honey? She asked. You're one of my top earners. I'm sure. What are you gonna do for money? I looked around my small studio apartment, at the photos covering every surface, at the camera equipment I'd been slowly collecting. Figure it out. The conversation with Phoenix was harder. You don't have to quit because of me, he said when I told him that evening. I meant what I said about not caring. I'm not quitting because of you. I'm quitting because of me. I took his hands. I want to try, Phoenix. Really try. Not just at this relationship, but at building a life I actually want to live. His smile was so bright it could have powered the city. Yeah. If the offer's still open. The offer's always open. Moving in with Phoenix was easier than I'd expected. My whole life fit into 3 boxes: clothes, camera equipment, and the few photos I couldn't bear to leave behind. Phoenix cleared out half his closet, made space in his bathroom, integrated my things into his apartment like he'd been waiting for them. It's perfect, he said, watching me hang my photos on the wall beside his sculptures. Your apartment's going to look like a gallery, I warned. Our apartment. And I hope so. Our apartment. The words made something warm spread through my chest. That first week living together was a revelation. Phoenix worked in the mornings while I figured out a portfolio to show potential clients. Real clients, the kind who wanted family portraits and wedding photography. In the afternoons, we'd explore the city together, Phoenix showing me hidden corners I'd never noticed, me capturing moments through my camera that made him see familiar places with new eyes. You're documenting our beginning, he said one afternoon as I photographed him working in his studio, completely absorbed in shaping metal into art. Is that what this is? Our beginning? Phoenix looked up from his work, his face serious. I hope so. I want a beginning with you, River. And a middle. And an ending 50 years from now when we're old and gray and still crazy about each other. You think about 50 years from now? With you? All the time. He was so certain, so sure of us, and his confidence was infectious. For the first time in my adult life, I started thinking beyond next month, next year. Started imagining a future that looked like happiness. A week later, I got my first legitimate photography client, a young couple wanting engagement photos. Phoenix came with me for moral support, carrying my equipment and making jokes that helped me relax. You're a natural, he said as we walked through the common, following the couple as they laughed and kissed and generally acted like people in love. Look at how comfortable you're making them. He was right. This felt natural in a way my old work never had. Creative, meaningful, real. Thank you, I said as we headed home, my camera bag full of what I knew would be beautiful photos. For what? For believing in me. For making me believe in myself. Phoenix stopped walking and pulled me into his arms right there on Newberry Street, kissing me in full view of everyone. I love you, he said against my mouth. I love you too. It was the first time I'd ever said those words and meant them completely. They're going to love you, Phoenix said for the 10th time as we walked up the steps to his parents' Brookline house. You don't know that. I know my family. And I know you. Phoenix's parents lived in a beautiful colonial that screamed old money and good taste. His mother answered the door, elegant, perfectly put together, the kind of woman who'd never had a hair out of place in her life. Phoenix, sweetheart. She hugged him, then turned to me with a warm smile. And you must be River. We've heard so much about you. All good things, I hope, I said, accepting her hug. Only the best. I'm Diana. Come in. Your father's in the kitchen pretending he knows how to cook. The house was exactly what I'd expected. Tasteful antiques, family photos going back generations, the kind of casual elegance that only came with real money. But it was also warm, lived in, full of the kind of love I'd always imagined other families had. Phoenix's father emerged from the kitchen wearing an apron that said, "Kiss the cook," and carrying a wooden spoon. River. He shook my hand enthusiastically. I'm David. Phoenix has been talking about you non-stop. Dad, Phoenix warned, but he was smiling. What? It's true. Haven't seen him this happy since, well, ever. Dinner was comfortable, filled with easy conversation and gentle teasing. Phoenix's parents asked about my photography, seemed genuinely interested in my work, treated me like family rather than a stranger their son had brought home. River got his first engagement session last week, Phoenix said proudly. The photos are incredible. We'd love to see them, Diana said. I showed them a few shots on my phone, watching their faces for any sign of polite disinterest. Instead, I saw genuine appreciation. These are beautiful, David said. You really capture the emotion. Thank you. Have you thought about showing your work? There are some lovely galleries in the city that might be interested. I'm still building my portfolio, I said. Well, when you're ready, I know some people, Diana offered. The art world is smaller than you might think. After dinner, Phoenix and I sat on the back porch swing while his parents cleaned up, despite our offers to help. See, Phoenix said, taking my hand. They love you. Your parents are wonderful. They raised me to see the good in people. And the good in you is impossible to miss. I leaned against his shoulder, feeling peaceful in a way I rarely experienced. What did you tell them? About how we met. That you were a friend who became something more. Which is true. Phoenix. What? Don't you think they deserve to know the truth? Phoenix was quiet for a moment, considering. Maybe someday. But right now, what matters is that they can see how happy you make me. Everything else is just details. His mother appeared in the doorway with coffee and homemade cookies. I hope we're not interrupting, she said, settling into a nearby chair. Never, Phoenix said. I wanted to tell you both, we're planning a family reunion next month. All the cousins, aunts, uncles, the whole circus. I hope you'll both come. I started to make an excuse, but Phoenix squeezed my hand. We'd love to, he said. Wonderful. Fair warning, River. This family is loud, nosy, and completely overwhelming. But they're also loyal to the core. Once you're family forever. The word, family, hit me unexpectedly hard. I'd been on my own for so long, I'd forgotten what it felt like to belong somewhere. I'd like that, I said, surprising myself with how much I meant it. Later, driving home through the city, Phoenix reached over and took my hand. You okay? You've been quiet. Your family is amazing. I keep waiting for the catch. No catch. They're just good people who want me to be happy. And I make you happy? Phoenix pulled over, right there on Commonwealth Avenue, and turned to face me. River, you don't just make me happy. You make me feel alive. Like everything good I ever imagined might actually be possible. He kissed me then, soft and sweet and full of promise, and I thought about family reunions and gallery showings and all the ordinary, beautiful things that made up a real life. For the first time, I could picture myself in that life. Not just surviving, but thriving. 3 months later, I had my first gallery showing. It was a small space in the South End, but it was mine, a collection of photographs I'd taken over the past year, including several of Phoenix working in his studio and some street photography that captured the city in ways I'd never seen before. I'm so nervous, I admitted to Phoenix as we got ready for the opening. Don't be. Your work is incredible. People are going to love it. What if no one comes? Then we'll have the place to ourselves and can make out behind the sculptures. I laughed despite my nerves. Your parents are coming. We can't make out in front of your parents. Watch me. The opening was better than I'd dared to hope. Diana and David arrived early with what seemed like half of Boston society, all eager to support their son's boyfriend's art. Phoenix's sister Sage flew in from New York with her husband and 2 kids who immediately declared my photos way cooler than Uncle Phoenix's metal things. This one's my favorite, Sage said, standing in front of a photo I'd taken of Phoenix laughing at something off camera, sunlight streaming through his hair. You can see how much you love him. Is it that obvious? To anyone with eyes. But also, I've never seen Phoenix this happy. Whatever you're doing, keep doing it. The evening was a success, several pieces sold, and I got business cards from potential clients interested in portrait work. But the best moment came when Phoenix pulled me aside near the end of the night. I have something for you, he said, reaching into his jacket pocket. Phoenix, you already gave me this whole evening. Just look. He handed me a small wrapped box. Inside was a key. What's this for? The gallery space. I bought it. For you. I stared at him. You what? The owner was looking to sell, and I thought, this could be your studio. Your gallery. A place to show your work and meet with clients. He looked nervous suddenly. If you want it. No pressure. Phoenix, I can't let you buy me a gallery. You're not letting me do anything. I'm investing in us. In our future. This is too much. River. He cupped my face in his hands. I love you. I believe in your talent. And I want to spend the rest of my life supporting your dreams the way you support mine. The rest of your life? Phoenix smiled, that brilliant smile that had first made me forget how to breathe. If you'll have me. He dropped to one knee right there in the gallery, in front of his family and half of Boston, and pulled out another small box. River James, will you marry me? The ring was perfect. Simple, elegant, exactly what I would have chosen. But more than that, it represented everything I'd never thought I could have. Love, security, a future with someone who saw me completely and chose me anyway. Yes, I whispered, then louder, yes. The gallery erupted in cheers as Phoenix slipped the ring onto my finger and kissed me like his life depended on it. I love you, he said against my mouth. I love you too. So much. Are you happy? Phoenix asked that night as we collapsed into bed. In love, I said. And happier than I ever imagined possible. Phoenix laughed and pulled me closer. I love our life. Me too. I looked at him in the dim light from the hallway, this man who'd given me everything I'd never known I wanted, and felt that familiar flutter of possibility. Forever is the deal. He kissed me goodnight, and I fell asleep thinking about second chances and found families and the beautiful unpredictability of love.